Okay. Welcome everybody, and thanks for being here a little earlier than we normally would be, but we're just working through the meeting. First of all, I'd like to thank Deputy Mayor Turton for helping me out there when I wasn't around the last couple of meetings. It's nice to visit the kids down in California, and I'd like to bring their weather back up here, but it didn't work out so good. They have other issues though, Mike. They have issues with the roads with when they get rain, junk gets on them too. So it's not just snow, right? Anyways, but we were down in California and we just got back, so that was nice that everybody was able to do that for me and fill in on the council on the parades and all the things that you guys did. Thanks very much for your support. So moving forward, we have not a real long meeting today, but we have a really exciting thing happening at 6 o'clock, so we want to get to that. So we'll get right into it. Any disclosure, any peculiar interest? Any conflicts? No. Moved by Councillor Dixon, second by Councillor Gunson. The previous minutes of December 3rd, 2019 council meeting are approved. All in favor? Carried. Additional items. Judy, Jane. We may do a little. We may do we. We're gonna sing. We're gonna sing again. Right?
Yeah, we should.
I was told that without previous Deputy Mayor Faulkner used to lead us in it, but I said Deputy Mayor Turton has got a lovely voice, and he'll be able to bring us on and the right tone. I think. No problem. So we're gonna do Christmas wishes at the end. We'll just sing at the end. So anybody else got anything else besides Christmas wishes? If you think of anything, let me know. All right. Moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Deputy Mayor Turton, that the Town of Minto Council convenes in a committee of the whole. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Again, delegations at 6. Public question period. Correspondence. Anybody want to pull anything out of correspondence? Hoover on correspondence. Mayor Turton. Councillor Dixon, all in favor? Okay. Okay, staff reports. Chief Building. Do that one. Harry.
I have two reports for you this evening. The first is a pre-consult agreement. Staff has looked into what our external costs are for engineering of different projects. For the most part, a project, once we get to the approval stage, we recoup our external costs of engineering, legal fees, and all that stuff. But we've noticed with the increase in development in the area, that it's also increasing the number of people coming forward with proposed development projects that never actually carry through. So we have no way, no method in place at the moment for recovering our costs for that. For instance, there was a project up in Clifford that never came to fruition, and we're sitting on about a $4,000 engineering bill. So that bill is being paid by the tax revenue opposed to from the individual bringing it forward. So in the terms of the agreement, as soon as we get, we need to involve anyone besides staff, we would get the proponent to enter into this agreement and give us a deposit. So the deposit would be sitting with us in the amount of $5,000. Every time we would get a bill from again, an engineer or anybody on the outside, we would invoice the proponent for the same amount. If they didn't pay for the invoice amount, that's when we would draw down that $5,000. Essentially, we're going to be covering our costs on it. There's nothing in the agreement, or it's not. We're not trying to discourage anyone from speaking with staff. That's why it just kicks in once it's external. When we're actually getting a bill, that's when we can make some of
Questions?
Thank you, Mayor Breach. So, Terry, what's on the table then for 2019? Is it a big amount of money?
For 2019, I think it'll probably, for the project, probably pull around the 10 grand mark. Give or take that we are unable to drop that. I didn't check it out exactly, but, it's not a huge amount, but at the same time, it's still.
Well, it's certainly time consuming for yourself as well.
Either way, I would have the same amount of time involved. It's just hard costs.
And my comment is, and Terry already mentioned it, was one of the advantages of Minto is we've been very proud of the fact that we get together and we work with people, and sometimes we get people that don't have an understanding of what all the costs are going to be. I think what Terry wants to protect the town on a little bit is if they realize that if we're going to have to bring engineering and everything in, they better be committed to it. So by having this sign where, we hold a lot of hands to get people through, and 80% of the time or 90% of the time they do finish it up and pay, but there's those rare occasions where maybe the costs or whatever and they just back away. So I think it's a great idea to do this and just have that, but Terry's told me, and I totally hear from what he's saying in his preamble there, that basically we want to still be open for the public to come in and talk to us, because it's far better for them to talk to you and not make a mistake than you having to go out and say to them, oh shoot, you got to rip that wall down because you weren't close. But so all the things, and that's what we're not going to give up. But when we have to call in Triton or we have to call in somebody, then they'll have to sign something to say we're going to that next step. And this is what it's, and they know the costs are going to be that. We tell them. Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. I think it's a great compromise. Anybody else?
I have one more question there, Bridge. So are we the only, does other municipalities have this fee?
There are.
Yeah.
I know I got the agreement from Senator Wellington.
Yeah.
So I know they have it in place. I'm not sure about so there are a few around.
Okay, thank you. We have a recommendation on this. The Council of the Town of Minto receives the Chief Building Officials Report dated December 11th, 2019 report entitled Pre-Consultation Agreement. Authorize the Chief Building Official to enter into the pre-consultation agreement with proponents. Moving a second on that. Jeff and Dave, all in favor? Should I turn it over?
Not your turn. Not yet.
Gotcha. Go ahead.
My next report is for site plan approval, application of the council will remember that this property was recently rezoned. It's located at 46 North Street South, across from Gemstones there. The proposal is to construct a residential fourplex. They recall that we did reconfigure the lot as part of the rezoning process to address concerns that some of the neighbors have brought forward. So this plan mirrors exactly what that revised plan was. So it pushes the building into the lot. There is a fence that's going to go up between 46 and 48 Aurora Street, buffering for that adjacent property owner. There are landscaping details for the parking lot area just to kind of dress it up. The site plan approval that I'm bringing forward is just for a conditional approval from the council. There are still some grading issues that staff, our engineer, as well as the applicant's engineer is still working on. So it's not going to impact the site layout, it's just going to impact some of the grading aspects. So just bringing it forward to hopefully get your approval so that during between now and Christmas break, finish up with the final design work and we can
Questions? Good. I'll make a recommendation that the Council of Town of Minto receives the Chief Building Officials report dated December 13th, 2019 and approves the site plan prepared by Wilson Ford Surveying Engineering dated 2019-12-12, subject to final site plan providing grading, drainage, servicing, and landscaping details being submitted for approval by the town staff and Triton Engineering. And further, that the owner executes with the town a site plan agreement requiring completion within 2 years and provisions of the final landscaping details to the town. Further, the council considers bylaw in regular session authorizing the mayor and acting clerk to sign the site plan agreement once the landowner has signed. Ron and Judy, all in favor? Good. Thank you. And I'll turn it over to Judy, Councillor Dirksen, and she can take it over for the chair of roads and drainage.
Okay. And I, of course, am going to turn it over to our roads and drainage manager, Mike Kazik.
This report I'm bringing you here today is basically the topic of how it has previously received which is in my first photo there. With that, the only thing that we completed with an upgrade is so what this request is for an additional new system to be added on to this as well to help service in the second photo there, one of those blue dots that are representing
Okay, pretty straightforward. So the recommendation is that council of the town of Minto receives the road and drainage manager's report regarding the petition under section 4 of the Drainage Act for the Greenlee Municipal Drain Extension and appoints Dietrich Engineering Limited to represent the town's interest in this regard. Is there a mover? Councillor Anderson, a seconder. Deputy Mayor Turton, all in favor? And that passes, thank you. And next we have our wastewater foreman. It's going to clarify some of the
Oh, I like that, Judy.
information
Clarify.
about the wastewater clarifier in Palmerston.
You stay up all night figuring that out?
Oh, that just came to me.
yeah, so we jump into this follow up to the 2019 spec and water wastewater treatment plant serves
This is later.
we need to clarify. Right now, that we work on this design framework. All the timelines and approval. That was important. Obvious that They're both very expensive. Also, we're putting the first layer. All red lines. Really in depth. For project this. There's some sort of federal funding. That's kind of where when we're looking for approval or and obviously all that. That is, I have simply clarified. The rest of the report is things that we identify that important for us to know.
Let's see if there's any questions on this part first, maybe. We may need clarification on the clarifier. Councillor Elliott.
We're estimating a grant of $2,200,000. What happens if that dries up? We got a plan. In fact, because we have to have it, right? So if some of that dries up, is Gordy got a plan? Or have you got a plan? You got a plan to tell Gordy what? Okay. Chances are it won't dry up, though. You think, Gordy?
Don't know.
Thanks.
Mayor Bridge.
Yeah, just on that, I just got back. I was at Federation of Municipalities meetings in November before I went away, and all parties are still very proactive on infrastructure, providing infrastructure, and the sewer and water is one of the big issues. And I think both the Liberals, the Conservatives, NDP are all pretty well said that there's billions of dollars they're sitting there, they're not getting it out. That's the biggest problem. So I'm hopeful this is a good opportunity for us to look at it. And I guess in reading this, and I know you guys talked about a lot at the Capitol meeting, but it's sort of the thing that we have to sort of get ready. And I think it's important that we do this. get it ready, get it shovel ready, because if we do have that money and it does come through, again, this goes on your water bill, not your tax bill, but at the same token, if we don't, then we'll run out of opportunities in Palmerston to keep growing, and if we don't grow, we don't have the opportunities both in with our new secondary plan that we're talking about and increasing some of our land and getting the opportunity to service it. Future councils will be hamstrung. And I always look back and I give the councils of the past a lot of credit for the fact that they were proactive and went out and did things that they did. And we spent $1.5 million, I think, on infrastructure in Palmerston to get us to the point where we could use the capacity we have by fixing the inflow, and a couple councils have put a lot of money to that, and we've seen the benefit of that. So I think this is just good management, and I know we had a good discussion at Capitol, and I think getting it ready, and I think it's important that we push forward, at least on the planning side of it. And yeah, we can't do this without the government help, but that's what they're there for. They should be giving us this infrastructure help, and they've said they will, and let's put them to the test. This
We'll
will be a
take
good
some of your
opportunity.
billions.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I'll maybe read the recommendation. We'll do this as motion first, because there really isn't a motion to go with the others. Not that we know of, anyways, unless somebody decides to make one. Okay, so the recommendation is that the Council of the Town of Minto receives the report from the wastewater foreman dated December 17th, 2019 regarding the Palmerston Wastewater Treatment Facility clarifier replacement, and provide direction to submit the application for the ICIP Green Stream funding for the new secondary clarifier in Palmerston. Mover, Mayor Bridge, second by Deputy Mayor Turton. All in favor? Thank you, that carries. Okay, go ahead.
During the design process, it's important that the design ensure that and it brought up some questions. And one was the past and property that the other thing we were looking at is how long was that? Similar for this. This is all currently.
Mayor Bridge and then Councillor McKenzie.
So, but you're not, you said 25 million for a new plant, but we're saying the clarifier, but, yeah, okay, because, I mean,
Something to work towards, though.
something to stay up at night and worry about. Yeah.
Councillor McKenzie?
Thank you. What does ERU mean? It's if expected growth is anticipated to exceed 370 RU. What's I? Thank you. It's up, way up. All right, got it.
So just to clarify a little bit, and to back up what Mark's saying is, the key points that you should take away from it is this is a 5 to 7 year build out. So with the growth that we're seeing and the tire kickers and everything that we have going on in Palmerston specifically, there is a lot of demand on a lot of the units we have left, the ERUs that we have left. So we have to stay on top of this, because it's not something that if we have a large scale business that comes that is what we call a wet business that takes up a lot of units, or another big subdivision that takes up the rest of our capacity, we'd have to act fairly quickly, because we're looking at a 5 to 7 year build out, as Mark said, from the time you start saying, okay, council says let's start the process, to the time we could actually commission it and get it going. That's a long time, and we've seen significant growth in the past 2 years. Do we have a crystal ball to predict what the next 5 to 7 years? Obviously not. But to Mark's point is just to put this on your horizon, because we may be bringing a report back in the future, maybe the near future, maybe a year or two down the road, who knows? But probably in this council term to start looking at, do we want to start the process for doing this? Because the Palmerston plant's a little bit different than the other two in the fact that we don't have lagoons. So it's correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, but a little more harder to expand because there isn't the lagoons type system that we can utilize. It's a lot more infrastructure and a lot more, pipes and that kind of stuff that's way beyond my capability. But that's what council needs to keep in mind with this is in your term, you're probably going to have to make a decision on what we start looking at and how we start moving forward with this, because it is such a long duration, not like a road where we can replace it next year and be done with it type thing.
Just a quick question. Chris, you might be able to answer this. So on that final page, figure 2, in the legend it says future construction is projected to be necessary in 2038. Where would they come up with that number then?
So that's using the official plan numbers to say that we build so many houses per year in the town of Palmerston. But as Terry's told you in his building, that we're surpassing our numbers. So like this year we surpassed it by, do you remember how many, Terry?
As of the end of October, we were sitting at 52 units, and the growth plan is for 51. And I've issued more residential unit permits since then.
So that's where they get that figures is the growth plan says Palmerston's probably going to grow by this number of houses. But what we're seeing is we're surpassing that, and we're surpassing it fairly good. And some of the stuff that's come to us that's in the initial stages of development that you haven't seen everything yet is looking for even more of that to continue. So, and we're not talking thousands of ERUs, like you're talking 300 and some ERUs left. Which could be eaten up pretty quickly if some of these things come to fruition. So we don't want to be stagnant, because if we run out of ERUs, we're done. That's we're sitting there with nothing. So we just want to make sure that we're staying on top of this, and that you as council knows that. But as Mark said, the dollar signs are there, and it's a fairly significant number.
Mike, do you want to pass your mic to Mike, please?
Just one other thing to keep in mind is staff just wants to be ready as well if there is another funding application available that would fit this sort of project as well. We've seen it in the past where other municipalities do get a grant for $20 million or whatever for a plant expansion. We just want to be ready for something like that we can bring back to council as well when that time is.
So what would be our next step to be ready, or are we ready now?
So
So, we've already kind of taken some steps. For example, for the clarifier to be built, we need to do geotech on the site right around the built. So we have on site some sidewalk and look at that. That's how you change the time. Build in the time for engineering. Sort of a plan on how to then all those things. Just a little bit at a time, check them off, and then we'll start with this.
Approvals to, like, another thing would be approvals, any necessary approvals throughout the build out. If there's any of that stuff that we can do prior to the project going forward, that stuff can be looked after.
Yeah, for example, same with museums doing some of the years monitoring that front.
Deputy Mayor Turton.
Thank you, Councillor Dirksen. So dealing with the government, it's a long process to get the approval for a lot of this stuff. Two questions. The primary, the clarifier that we have now, it's to the size that we don't have any problem with moving ahead and giving out all these permits? Or are we, so when we get the second one put in there, it's not a question of it's when we get it put in there because we need it. Will they be running in parallel or series or so? What is our restriction right now with that first clarifier? Can we go ahead and give out all these building lots that we are allotted right now? Or what is the restriction here? You understand the question? No, not at all. I know why it needs to be replaced. What I'm saying is, it's big enough to go ahead and give all these permits.
Yeah.
And so the second thing here, when we're eliminating the aeration, the circular aeration unit, the technology that's out there now for the aeration tanks, I mean, we're looking at much more modern technology. Yeah.
And one of the big things that Mark said to answer your question,
Microphone. Is that Mark explained to me is if this, because of the age of the clarifier that we have now, if it was to go down, we don't have a second one to back it up. So our plant would be down and we would be, Mark would be in a lot of trouble because there's nothing there to operate. So that's another thing because of the age of it and because it's nearing its life expectancy, correct, Mark? Is having that second one that if that one was to go, or if they needed to take it offline to do some repairs to it, this gives us that freedom. Like we're running the risk that the age of this one, if it goes down, then our plant's down and we're in really big trouble. So
yeah, I think that's the point. I mean, I think that's the point that really needs to be hammered to the people that are passing out the money. I mean, this is pretty important to Minto that we get it done.
Okay.
Get some shovels somewhere just in case.
For starters.
Hire more staff.
Okay, is there any more questions? Mark? Okay. Thank you very much. I'll turn the chair back to the mayor.
Thank you. And I will just, and who we got acting? Who's
Me,
doing?
I'm doing
Oh,
that.
you're doing that.
Yep.
Oh, you're beside me.
That's right. So I have 3 reports for you today. The first one is on the fees and charges by law amendments for 2020. This is something that we look at every year. There were 6 schedules that we're looking at to change this time around. Most of them are just as a cost recovery changes. There's a few changes to the actuals for the cemetery as well. The biggest change, of course, was to Schedule J, being County of Wellington with their flat fees. They added 3 new charges onto their planning. And so then we have to pass that on to our residents to cost recovery. So
Questions? Have a movement or second for this? On? Jeff, all in favor? I'm looking for different people, Judy. I mean, you're very,
That's why
very
I,
proactive.
that's
You're
why
very
I didn't,
proactive.
because I saw Jeff's hands.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Okay, pass.
Keep it going.
So our next report is a notice to the public policy. So in accordance with Section 270 of the Municipal Act, it requires us to adopt and maintain a policy. Our last policy was passed in 2011. It actually gives a little more ability for the clerk's department to choose. One thing is I would like to utilize our website a little better in part of our public notices. That was one thing that I would like to see. If you have any questions.
I have some concerns about the using the website. I understand the website, but there's a lot of senior citizens here and they don't use email. And they're like, where are we covered if we post a notice or change a notice and it's only on the website and it's nowhere else and they don't know?
Yep.
Does that leave us open to, like, I just think we should leave it in the papers as well, but.
And that's certainly up to council, and the policy states that if council wishes to see things go further, this is just putting your minimums in.
Right.
And then if council wishes to see, or any of the departments wishes to go forward with advertising in the paper as well, then they can do that.
I just think there's a lot of our community that the internet's not the first thing they go to find news. They count on the newspaper and they look for it eagerly every week. Yep.
Judy?
That is almost exactly what I was going to
Yeah.
say.
Yep. Anybody else on? And I just want to put and I've talked to Annalene on this. I think it's very important that we keep supporting our newspapers too. Because one of the things I've been hearing, and especially at the federal level, there's a lot of small towns around. We're blessed to have some newspapers still.
Mhm.
There's a lot of places that don't have them anymore. And with Gene, not everybody. I know all the younger people, but then the newspapers also have it on the website. That they have their own websites too. So I would not want to take it totally. I think what Annalene wants is a little bit of flexibility on some of the smaller items that maybe don't. The public notice goes out there, but some of the bigger issues, certainly tenders and stuff like that, would definitely continue to be.
The public notice was for the fees and charges. I had to do a public notice in a newspaper
Right.
for the fees and charges as
Right.
well. So something similar like that, but you definitely want our residents to know for public meetings or anything else.
Right.
And you want to get that out everywhere that you can.
Because I know, speaking from just our Christmas dinner, it doesn't really ramp up until it hits the newspaper.
Yeah,
and then we
people
get
see
the calls. The seniors of our community, and they're a good part of our community, they're relying on the newspaper.
Absolutely.
And without revenue, the newspapers aren't going to be there.
Right.
So that's okay. So it's a catch-22. Okay. Do you have a mover and seconder for that? On? Gene? All in favor? Okay. Next up is the Guelph Agreement EMS.
Yes, please find that one there. So the city of Guelph has rented 122 Robertson Street for their base for the ambulance services since 2008. This is just updating the agreement that has been in place as it's due this December. And they are looking to increase what they're paying us, and as well, they outline a little more of the covenants within this agreement.
I'll move.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Turton, second by Jeff. All in favor? And we're turning it back over to Acting CEO Chris. Talk about the strategic plan or the shared service study.
So as council is aware, last council meeting we were handed out the KPMG service review report that was presented at County Council at the end of November. The county had the presentation from KPMG as well as some representatives from the municipalities, and they presented the report, and the county adopted it or accepted the report, and then directed staff to continue to investigate a bunch of the opportunities that are involved in it. I'll stress that at the beginning that as we go through this tonight, the opportunities are there. You're accepting the report tonight is just accepting the report. You're not saying that we're going to do all 20 or we're going to do all 58 or whatever the total number was in here. Each one of them will have to come back to you and be discussed and approved in agreements and all that kind of stuff. But what we're looking for tonight is just to direct staff to continue on investigating if some of the opportunities could fit Minto or could fit anywhere, similar to what we did last council meeting when you agreed upon with the IT project that we're getting a third party in to look at all our IT work and all that stuff. That come out of the shared services. It's just something we've jumped on quickly and got going. So in that report, you're going to see that in there was the top 20 in 20. That was kind of the term that somebody come up with, and it was kind of appropriate. But we went with the top 20 suggestions that came out of the matrix that they used to score all the suggestions that came forward from staff, from the CAOs, and from the entire working group. The working group consisted of all the CAOs, the municipality, the warden, and other staff as necessary that came and helped contribute to it. So out of that came a brainstorming session where we had over 150, somewhere around 150 suggestions, and then we spent 3 meetings after that paring them down to come up with what you saw in the package in the final report. There was a scoring matrix that was used to score each one and see which one ranked higher than the other ones. And then we discussed how they were ranked and whether they were applicable, and we merged them and come up with this list. This list is not in priority 1, like this is what we feel is the highest priority. It's just numbered to give us 20. So just so you know that the first one that says share public works facilities, that's not the top priority that we all suggest is the one we're going to jump on. It's just one of the 20. So to go through the 20 quickly, because you've had a chance to read them all, the top 20 and 20, the first one was shared public works facilities, which to me has a lot of merit, and especially for us at Minto to look forward in the future. And we have had preliminary discussions with the county about this in the future, or in the past. For example, if they need to rebuild their facility on White's Road or County Road 5 at the bend there, which is starting to age, they're landlocked there. They don't have much land. So does it make sense to possibly come out here and build a new facility that we could house together? We would definitely be willing to look at that and investigate the possibility of that happening. So that's one that you might see come back here in a few years. Dispose of surplus buildings. We don't have that many, but there is quite a few, I guess, in the county and within the county and the municipalities they could dispose of to do that. As I talked to the mayor before, we're already starting to look at properties and sell some properties off. And my term as CEO might be known as the disposer of properties, I guess. I don't know. The third one is explore winter maintenance levels. And I've talked to Mike, and Mike's already had that discussion that this is just what levels does each municipality plow their roads to? Is there a common ground? And is there a way that instead of that plow driving over the road has to lift its plow up, go across the road, and then set its plow back down because it's not allowed to touch that road? Is there ways to look at that would be a lot more efficient? Is there a lot more efficient ways to patrol roads, like we patrol County Road 2 and 3, right? 2 and 3 for the county, because it doesn't make sense for them to drive all the way up here. So is there more efficiencies like that? Which, talking to Mike, we both believe there probably is out there. Establish one official plan across the county and increasing designated industrial land zone. That's just more talks on planning and how can we make the official plan work better for everybody. Improve group purchasing and combine purchasing power. That comes up in almost every report that I've ever read and ever been a part of, but that just makes sense. You know, if we're tendering out for paving, is it better to do buy asphalt as a big group instead of just one small group, because maybe we're getting better pricing if we do it together as a big group. So that's an example of that. Countywide investment strategy and management approach. So we all have reserves. Is there a possibility of putting the reserves together and getting a better return on our money? That's for Gord to look into, because that's beyond my capability money-wise, but makes sense. You know, if you pool everything and get a way better rate of return, then we all win on that. Countywide coordinator and shared communication, marketing, and advertising services. That's, again, getting more bang for our buck for advertising and doing print materials or website stuff or anything like that. Is there a way to work together? Streamlining approval processes, decision-making process across Wellington County. We've talked, Terry and I've talked, and then that's one that we could look at, you know, when we're going through for the zoning amendments or official plan. Is there a way to streamline some of that we don't have to have the resident coming back numerous times. That can we do it similar to what our efficiency meetings that we started here in Minto work on, where we have everybody around the table. They come once, we get everything talked to at one time, and then move on. So there's definitely chances for that. Consistent facility management services that could be shared across the county or across the lower tier. So we all have facility maintenance. We all have different things that we need to do. Is there a way of looking at that we can work together on? Explore common IT system and resources. You already heard, as we mentioned, we're already going forward with that, and we're getting a third party in to look at us and see what we can start working on together. One of the things that come up is the cyber terrorism stuff. Is there a way that we can put this all together and have a strong IT department across the municipalities and the county that can help ward off some of the cyber attacks that are happening out there? So that's very important to us. Functional management services. So that could include chief building officials, clerks, public works, fire chiefs, bylaw officers, and animal control officers. Can we share those type of services across the county? And I can tell you that there's already talks going on with that on different managers, not that can we share the services of bylaw or animal control or something like that, that we all pay into it and get the same services, or maybe even at times improve services. Lean management system for cost improvement. That's a technique that we can use and see if that we can help share managers across the municipalities. Coordinate project management expertise. That's one that we contributed, but when you're doing these large projects, it takes a lot for project management. So is there a way that we have a project manager available to us across the county that helps tender the projects, get the projects running, make sure they're running smoothly, and dealing with a lot of these people that staff are doing now, but maybe there's a more efficient way of doing that. Someone with a lot of expertise in that. Countywide approach to municipal drains. Mike spends a ton of time on municipal drains, and as we learned at the Christmas party, we have, I said 118, but I was corrected that we have 140 municipal drains, and having somebody look after all those and make sure they're cleaned out and inspecting them and all that stuff. Is there a way to share municipal drains and someone's expertise that they can look after that for everybody? Land inventory, GIS data. That's something that we need to explore in the future is GISing our employment lands and our buildings and all that type of stuff. Countywide asset management delivery. You know how much time we spend on asset management and how we're trying to get the plan. Is there a way to start sharing that service and working together in asset management? And even if it's just the fact that we're all talking the same language and using the same software and that to do the asset management plan would be a huge thing. Coordinated countywide human resource services. We use a consultant at times. Is there a way to tap into different things in the county that we could just share services instead of using consultants all the time to help us with some of the HR problems? Countywide user fee study to make sure that we're all doing the user fees the same way, or are we charging the user fees we're supposed to? And then when it comes to planning, as you just heard, or is recreation a way to look at that, or other different things? But look at how we're conducting and doing user fees in the lower tiers. Climate change and efficiency, that's going to be a huge topic, and we want to make sure that was in there because we have hired the climate change control person at the county, but this is going to become a huge topic in the future and probably something that we won't be able to take on ourselves, but it's something that we could start sharing with other municipalities for sure. And finally, the economic development service delivery model, which I know you're going to see a report in the future on that. Can we work even more enhancing our partnerships with the economic development and what we can do together to bring more to our towns and to our county. So those are the top 20. That's right. There is other recommendations after that, that if we happen to cruise through all 20 and we want to keep working on some more that are lower there and pick some other there, we're more than welcome. But those are kind of what we all agreed are our work list for the next few years on that. So.
I think it's a good idea. You convinced me a couple weeks ago. I wasn't too sure at that time. The only concern as we go through that list of 20, as we approve them and move forward, if we got a way to reverse, if we get in there and say, whoops, this isn't what we're looking at, this is costing us more, this is not what we need, we're providing the service or not sharing, is there whatever.
Yeah, well, absolutely. There will be, and that's why each one will be dealt with separately, and you'll see different agreements come forward, because each municipality has the same fear. If we get into this and it's not working, how do we get out? And we'll make sure that that's there. And there is going to be a lot of trial and error with this stuff. That some of the stuff that we'll try and say this doesn't work. We need to go back to plowing our own roads. The county's plows aren't as good as our plows, or
Right.
whatever. There will be out clauses on everything. But I'm of the opinion, as we've talked before, is that there's no harm in trying some of the stuff and see if it does work, because some of it we'll try and realize, yeah, this is something that's working really well and we're going to go forward with. So
Yeah, and as we move in, we won't be buying shared assets. If we buy shared assets, we got to find a way of moving them around too. If we do that, I would think.
Yep, for sure. Yep, and as you see, there's not too much talk of too many shared assets in here. Like, everybody will still own their own assets. It's more sharing services right now. In the big future, maybe it will progress to sharing some assets, but it's mostly just we're looking at services right now and service delivery, and how we can work together to deliver services more efficiently. Not assets per se, like not we own half a plow truck and they own half a plow truck. Okay.
Worth moving forward if we can have that kind of recommendation that we can get out.
Yep, great.
Mark?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Read every page of this.
Good.
And I've got, I'm scared of this thing. I've been here before. I'm really in favor of delivery of service improvement and efficiency and all that good stuff. But pooling our money to have a third-party delivery scares me. It's a leaning towards regional government, and that's the way I read it. We got to be careful there. That's what I think. But it's a comment on this report.
And I appreciate that. I can assure you that nowhere in this discussion, and it was kibosh the very first meeting, there is no talk of regional government in this, and there's no talk of governance anywhere in it. What happens in the future? You remember what kind of spurred this on was the scare tactic the provincial government did, that they were going to force amalgamations, and they backed right off of that because they heard that. And the same thing here. A lot of this, there's a few recommendations there about looking at third-party service, but most of it's just using what services we already deliver and working together to improve upon or share that service delivery model.
With the county.
Not necessarily the county.
Who would we share with?
Like the neighboring municipalities, like say Wellington North, Mapleton, and us work together on sharing a position, or they delivering services together that would make it cheaper. A lot of the services that we talked about, the county doesn't deliver some of the services. It's our services that we have, so we'd look at our neighboring municipalities to work together on that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and just on that, I think you touched on it there, Chris, is the fact that the Ontario government did go out there and do the survey and talk about regional governments, and that was concerned. I was very concerned about it, Mark, as well. They did back off. I was there when the minister said, no, we now looked at it and we said, we want the municipalities to work on their own to try to find any sufficiencies they could possibly have. There's $140 million in a fund for us to look at. So some of these things, like the IT and other things, we were actually going after a grant to see whether it's worthwhile, Mark. So there's a lot of work to be done before we jump into bed with anybody on this. But certainly that $140 million allows you to actually do some of that research that we wouldn't want to put to our taxpayers, that the government is saying, is there an area? And I see this as more, and we've sort of done it in the past with some of our closer neighbors in Wellington North and Mapleton. Is there an opportunity in the north part, because we got sort of Center Wellington kind of takes over, and then around Guelph they've got synergies around Guelph. So I'm not seeing this as a real county-wide thing as much as maybe is there stuff that we can do together, and we'll have that opportunity to discuss it at this group, and also they'll have the opportunity, if we get involved with some third-party stuff with one of our neighbors, we'll have those discussions, and we'll hopefully have the numbers and the facts that make a common. Hopefully we'll have a good opportunity to look at it and say, here's why we're making this decision. But I love the fact that the government did back that off, because we have been for years looking for efficiencies, both at the county and at the local levels, and we've worked together with our neighbors on some things already, and it's worked out well. So I think we have a great opportunity here to look at it. These 20, as you read through them, some of them I don't see happening right away. There's some that I think we can take a run at, but we'll see what happens going forward. But I think it's a good plan to even go forward and try to work out some of those synergies.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Bridge. I mean, so we're talking Wellington here, but we're certainly not ruling out Howick and North Perth, are we?
No, anybody can come and knock on our door and say, would you like to share some of the stuff? So
Absolutely.
yeah, I like to think, because and as staff have talked, Minto's always been known as a very progressive municipality and very willing to
Sure.
help out our neighbors.
Mhm.
And I think this is right along that lines, that we're willing to work and listen to anybody. And if there's a benefit for our ratepayers and our residents, I think we're crazy not to listen and
Absolutely.
look into it. As the mayor said, not everything's going to work, but it's definitely worth a conversation for sure.
And a good comment on that, Deputy Mayor Turton, is look at Soggy Connects.
Mm-hmm.
That was one that we were up with Hanover and West Gray and other places, and we haven't just looked at Wellington County. If there's an opportunity to work together on and doing something, we've been doing that. So I think that's a good thing. Right. Any other questions on it? I think
I'll
this
make
is
the
for
motion.
information, so moving.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Deputy Mayor Turton and Councillor Elliott, all in favor? Great. And I hear some people out getting close. Next up is other business, and have Judy first.
Just going to let council know that we had our 6th 100 Women Who Care Rural Wellington meeting last night, and the winning charity was the Crime Stoppers Guelph Wellington. It fits our area very, very well. They do a lot of work, as we know. We've had them here doing presentations and so on, and and then also the Raw Carrot Soup Enterprise, which is in Mount Forest. It's a social enterprise. They were the winners in September, and so they were back to tell us what they were able to do with $10,000, and it was pretty amazing, the things that they were able to accomplish. And again, it's just great to be a part of this, and obviously there's lots of members from our area and from beyond as well, so that continues to be good.
Well, it's a great organization, Judy. I know you were part of the startup of it, but certainly give a lot of good money
got a
out
life of
to
its own,
some
that's for
great
sure.
spots.
Yeah.
I get the updates from Amy and Sue. And
yeah.
It's really.
And I want to wish everybody Merry Christmas, but I'm assuming we're doing that.
We're gonna do that
song
singing
at the end. Okay.
I got your voice too.
We're gonna sing.
Oh yeah, I'm tuned
Me?
up.
Mine is just a reminder about the Christmas dinner
party,
on
yep.
Christmas Day.
Yep.
Anybody who would like to come out and join us, anybody who's out working on the roads, needs a piece of pie, a cup of coffee, hot meal, tell them to drop by, give us a shout. And thank you everybody for their help and support.
Okay. Ron.
Yeah, I just to go with the fire department. I kind of there's a family just this week woke up, alarm for carbon monoxide. And if the alarm hadn't been out, they might not have been around for Christmas. So their furnace was defective, and it was fixed the next day, and thank goodness for that. So I'm advising everybody, if they don't have it, get yourself a carbon monoxide poisoning, because you don't know what's there.
Good point.
And so I was very heart grabbed by that when I found out about that, and when it would have been terrible to have a family gone for Christmas. So make sure the fire department doesn't push that for no reason at all. It saves lives, and I saw that happening. So do that, and I'm going to sing Merry Christmas later.
We're going to sing the Merry Christmas.
Yes.
Mark, did you?
Just
Yeah.
one question, Mr. Mayor. The asset report from PSD that we saw last week, quite a document to go through, but I did that one too. When does staff and council get a chance to address the recommendations out of that for budget purposes? That's a big job. Like, yeah, it's going to take. I don't know. It's a big thing. When do we address those?
Yeah, I would assume so.
I don't. Yeah, thank you. I just don't want to let some of those go by without talking about them.
No. I mean,
there's some merit in
there's
and a lot of it,
Is this from the capital budget that you were talking about the other day? Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wasn't thinking we weren't going to address
No,
it. Just
no,
it's
yeah.
a big thing, and we
No,
should start at that.
and that's why it's there. Just set up the priorities and that.
Thanks.
There'll be more
Yeah.
discussion on it. Okay. Anybody else? Do you want to sing right now?
Did you want to do that after the delegation? Or?
Sing to the
Maybe they've
delegation.
waited.
Well, if you, I'm not sure. I didn't know if you wanted a crowd, because I mean, you might be a little nervous singing, but you
We've
could
got a
sing it
crowd to
now,
help
and
us.
then the crowd will come in, or do you want
I
to
look at the crowd.
I thought we'd do it after, like at the very end. didn't we?
very
Yeah.
the very end?
Usually do.
Okay, we'll do it at the very end then.
Make people watch
Um,
the whole thing.
All right. So Matt,
Make people watch the whole thing because they want to hear us
Yep.
sing.
yeah,
This is something to do with Jeff Davey.
Okay.
you've eaten all your candies. I see.
The gumdrops won't cementy on us.
Oh God, yeah, don't eat those. There's a certain.
Maybe some of David's from this.
What was that? Some of David?
Some of David's from last year.
You were just moving stuff for you, Doug. Hang on,
I think so.
get you all organized here.
No, I would hope not.
Hi guys. Yeah, just if you just have a seat, and then we'll. Well, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Doug and Sharon Davey, and from Jeff Davies Foundation delegation, and you know, it's been 9 years for me, and you've been at this for before that, I think, around that, I guess.
11 years.
11 years, yeah, 11 years, and you know, the town always feels, you know, real supportive of what you've done. And when you came and talked the other day, and we talked about, it'd be nice if you had an opportunity to give out your presentation to the group, and I thought that was a great idea, and pleasure to have you here. And I'll turn it over to you and Sharon. And
thanks to everybody in the council. Our son Jeff died of an inoperable brain tumor in November of 2008 at the age of 24. Within 8 months, his family and friends had organized a ball tournament weekend. It was an immediate success. On the August long weekend for the past 11 years, the ball diamonds in Harriston and Palmerston have been filled with 32 teams vying for a coveted trophy, but more importantly, sharing memories, maintaining connections, and donating to our cause. Special thanks goes to the town of Minto and their staff, especially Al and Greg, for their continued support. In total, over $220,000 has been realized. Donations have been made yearly to hockey scholarships at Norwell, Marlin Spirit Award, and the Minto Minor Hockey Tournaments and Program. Other special interest groups like the Brain Tumor Foundation, Make-A-Wish, Personal Health Difficulties, and the recreation groups in Minto have all received support. This summer, Minto Minor Hockey, Minto Soccer, the Cubs and Scouts, and the local food bank through the Queen of the Fair contest all helped during the tournament weekend, and some have already received their donations. Tonight, we are pleased to give financial support to the additional recreation groups in Minto who are here tonight. Our way of honoring our motto, inspired by one, sharing with many.
Nice.
So we'd just call out the names of on the checks, and maybe those representatives can come forward. So first we have the Beavers and Cubs. You guys can come up and shake hands. Here, you. Minto Youth for Christ. Yeah. The Clifford Skating Club. You're welcome. Norwell Cobras.
Over there. Yeah.
Good job. You can shake give high fives. Great.
Yeah. There we go.
Good
Shake
job.
hands
Good job. You're welcome. Thank you. The Harrison Skating Club. The Palmerston Marlins. Minto Minor Ball. You're welcome. You're welcome. Palmerston Junior Broom Ball. Minto Dance. You're welcome.
How are you doing?
You're welcome. Grassroots Soccer. And Hometown Ball.
Just keep going back and forth. Not again.
And the Minto Swim Team. Jordan's going to do that. Good job. Good job.
Choose me.
And the Ontario Midwest competition contestants who donated to the food bank. Winners. Sorry, winners.
Couple big pounds there.
And the Minto Fire Department.
You don't have to go.
She looks like no, she doesn't look like it. Thank God. There you go.
So, do you want to get up Ron and Jeff? Don't move. Don't be behind. You're gonna go get crack.
That's all right.
They want to stand back numbers, I think. Get out of the way.
It's all right.
Well, let's say everyone's going down, so you must all. Everyone going down?
I have no idea.
Sure.
Is that what you wanted?
What? I'm in my uniform.
I don't think you need.
How about we just stand up?
Why don't we just stand back here?
Yeah.
Oh, Ron's going in. All right.
Oh, sure. Knock off the sign. Sorry. Stop that for Judy. Yes.
I was told.
She wants us here. She just said stand up.
I think so. I think you're coming too, honey.
Okay.
Now where's he want us? In there? They never been sees it. Here, we'll just stand right here.
There you go. Stand tall.
Wow, what a great group. This really shows
How are you? Things are doing good. It is a tight little corner to get around there.
Hours and hours. Yeah, you can sit here and listen to it. Come on.
Thank you so much. Oops, thank you so much for doing that. It's really nice for the
Yeah,
community.
they knocked me off.
Judy's not looking at you, but Judy.
Sorry, well, I'm trying to tell my husband when I'm going to be there.
Okay, what do you have? What do you have?
No, those are it's not but I think they're big helpers with it. Like, see, those boys were really good friends with each other. That was one of my Sharon. Yeah. 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 Krista. So I'm going to say that I would be home about 6:40. And to just, they just got
Nice photo there. Yep. Got that done.
Make me nervous. It's a great deal.
I did good, eh?
You did
Did
good?
you-
What did you do?
I climbed over
Yeah,
the
just
points. I was getting
every
wrong.
year, just
Well,
goes
that's
so-
good.
so smooth.
That was pretty big. That's an award for me. I've never seen that.
All
before
right.
here at one time.
Okay, so now we're moving to the
Yep.
back end here.
All right.
Great.
Well done.
I think.
Alrighty then.
My glasses on here. Okay. Moved by Councilor McKenzie, second by Councilor Anderson. The Committee of the Whole convenes into regular council meeting. All in favor? Moved by Councilor Gutson, second by Councilor Dirksen. The Council of the Town of Minto ratifies the motion made in the Committee of the Whole. All in favor? Moved by Deputy Mayor Turton, second by Councilor Gunston, the bylaw number 2019-102 to establish fees and charges for various services provided by the municipality, Town of Minto, be introduced, read first, second, and third time, passed in open council, seal of the corporation. All in favor? Moved by Councilor Anderson, second by Councilor McKenzie, bylaw number 2019-103 to levy the assessments of Drain 20 that was repaired or maintained under Section 74 of the Drainage Act in 2014 be introduced, read first, second, and third time, passed in open council, seal of the corporation. All in favor? Moved by Councilor McKenzie, second by Councilor Dirksen, bylaw number 2019-104 to authorize the execution of a site plan agreement with 500-2155 Ontario Inc. for proposed development on the Laura Street, South Clifford, be introduced, read first, second, and third time, passed in open council, seal of the corporation. All in favor? Moved by Councilor Elliott, second by Deputy Mayor Turton, the bylaw number 2019-105 to establish the policy for notice to public, introduced, read first, second, third time, and passed in open council, seal of the corporation. All in favor? Moved by Councilor Dirksen, second by Councilor Elliott, that the bylaw number 2019-106 to execute the agreement with the City of Guelph to operate the ambulance services in the auxiliary office at 122 Robertson Street, Harrison, be introduced, read, first, second, and third time, passed, and open council, sealed, corporation. All in favor. Moved by Councilor McKenzie, second by Councilor Gunson, that bylaw number 2019-107 to confirm the actions of the Council of the Corporation of Town of Minto respecting a meeting held December 17th, 2019, be introduced, read, first, second, and third time, and passed, and open council, sealed, corporation. All in favor. Yes. All right.
Do you want it to sing before you
Yeah,
adjourn?
should we just have a little sing? No.
Just in case people leave.
It's off yet. We'll turn us off.
Maybe it's a good idea.
Okay,
Turn us off
we're gonna.
before
Are
we
we gonna sing? What do we
Wish
want?
you Merry
Wish you Merry
Christmas.
Okay.
Usually is what we say.
Yeah, wish you a Merry Christmas. You
Unless
ready?
you want to start something new.
1, 2, 3. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you.
No glad tidings we bring.
Tidings
Well,
bring to you and your kin. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
boy,
Merry Christmas,
we
everybody.
messed that
Merry
one up.
Christmas.
Judy, you have to
We should
step
take
in
that
there. I
off
didn't
and
realize
start
there's two
again.
verses.
That's not, that's
That's-
the verse in the verse.
I know.
I don't know.
I've heard it before. Moved by Deputy Mayor Turk, second by Councilor Dirksen. The Council of Town of Minto adjourns. We just call the mayor. All in favor? Hey,
That was already
good.
done.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Thought he had to.
See you in the new year.